started as an ordinary day on Earth, a morning like any other, with people going about their routines. That was until the first transmission from the Galactic Council reached Earth's defenses. "Humanity of Earth," the voice on the other end of the line boomed. "This is a demand from the Galactic Council. You will immediately surrender to our authority or face total annihilation." Captain Leela Graves, head of the Earth Defense Forces, stood at the center of the operations room, listening as the message repeated. The room fell into an eerie silence, everyone aware that the stakes had just been raised to an unimaginable level. "Are they serious?" one of the younger officers whispered from behind her. Graves didn't flinch. She had faced down the unknown in her years of service. But this was different. The Galactic Council, an empire that had conquered and enslaved entire star systems, had never acknowledged Earth. To them, humanity was a mere blip on their radar, insignificant, primitive. "This transmission will be broadcast across your planet," the voice continued, its tone colder now, full of arrogance. "Submit, or the invaders will come." The room tensed as the words settled in. Graves clenched her fists. The Earth wasn't going to surrender, not to the Council, not to anyone. "What are they planning to do?" Graves turned to her intelligence officer, Dr. Elias Kaur, who was quickly scanning data on his console. "It's not clear yet, but it seems they've already decided. The roguish faction within the Council, they're the ones spearheading the attack. They want Earth's resources, and they don't care who stands in their way." Graves took a long breath. The Council had always been known for its strict, calculating logic. They didn't expect resistance from a planet like Earth. To them, this was a foregone conclusion, an easy conquest. And they were about to learn just how wrong they were. "We need to send a message," Graves said, her voice unwavering. "Start preparing our forces. If they think we're weak, we'll show them otherwise." Back at the Galactic Council, the response was equally as swift. Councillor Threx, a towering figure with pale blue skin and glowing eyes, stood before the holographic display of Earth, his hand resting lightly on the table. "We've never encountered a species that dares to reject the Council," Threx muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. The Council members, a mix of various alien species, exchanged uneasy glances. Threx's words sent a ripple of tension through the chamber. It was unheard of. Planets submitted, or they were destroyed, no exceptions. A young advisor from the Rojak sect, a faction known for its militaristic views, stood up. His purple-skinned face twisted with disdain. "Perhaps the humans are testing us. What's the point of further negotiations? We can wipe them out in hours." "No," Threx's deep voice rumbled through the room. "We must not underestimate them. They are audacious. This could be a dangerous signal. But the Galactic Empire is vast, and they are just one small, insignificant world. Why waste time?" the advisor sneered. Threx's eyes glowed brighter, his thoughts swirling. The humans had rejected the Council's offer, a rejection not just of authority, but of the galactic way of life. It was something the Council had never seen before. Back on Earth, the first of the alien ships appeared in the skies, as massive as mountains, silent and looming like specters from another world. Their technology was advanced beyond anything humanity had ever seen, but still, humanity stood its ground. Graves paced the command center, her thoughts racing. Could Earth defend itself against such overwhelming power? Could they even hope to survive an invasion from an enemy with such technological might? She glanced at the monitor again, alien ships moving toward Earth in perfect, synchronized formation. "We need time," Graves said quietly, turning to Kaur. "We need a weapon they don't expect, a strategy they can't calculate." Dear Kaur nodded, already working on calculations. "I'll get to work immediately. But Captain, even with everything we've got, this won't be easy." Graves didn't respond. She was already thinking ahead. Earth's defense wasn't just in its technology, it was in its people. Humanity was adaptable, unpredictable. It was a species forged in struggle and survival. "Do you think you can beat us?" The voice from the alien ships crackled through their communications again, this time amplified across the planet. "We will destroy your cities, your fleets, your armies." The statement was as cold as the vastness of space itself, yet it felt like a personal challenge. The alien ships glided toward Earth, poised to invade, but Graves wasn't afraid. The humans had one thing the Council and their invaders didn't expect: the will to fight, the courage to defy, and the brilliance of a species that had once conquered its own world against all odds. "We're not going to lay down and die," Graves muttered, staring up at the monitor. "We're going to make them regret ever underestimating us." The transmission abruptly cut off, and in its place came an ominous message: "Do you dare defy the Council?" The room fell silent as the final words hung in the air. The first wave of alien ships had arrived, and the battle for Earth was about to begin. The chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with light from hundreds of suspended holographic panels, each depicting strategic data, planetary systems, and ongoing communications. The great ring of alien leaders sat in silence, staring at the central projection: Earth. The blue and green world rotated slowly, surrounded by a red warning glyph. "Have they responded yet?" demanded Councillor Varn Kuhl, his serpentine features twitching with impatience. Councillor Threx stood, his deep, gravelly voice echoing through the council floor. "They did respond, by refusing our terms. They've mobilized defensive fleets, their planetary shields are activating, they've rejected all diplomatic contact." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the chamber. On most planets, a single show of council power was enough. A blockade, a threat, surrender always followed. "They must not understand," hissed Zelari of the Kravari Syndicate, her crystal-plated arms folding across her chest. "No species has ever dared defy the Council's invitation." Councillor Threck's expression remained unreadable. "Perhaps they understand better than we'd like to believe." One of the elder war ministers, a hulking beast from the Korvath Imperium, growled from his podium. "Send the fleets, crush them. They are primitives, barely spacefaring. Let this serve as a warning to the other fringe systems." Threck stepped forward unshaken. "That would be a mistake." "A mistake?" Zelari scoffed. "Yes," he replied, "because if they're smart enough to reject us, they may be smart enough to win, or worse, inspire rebellion in others. Earth may be small, but their mindsets are unstable, creative. Their psychology is erratic, defiant, dangerous." The war ministers exchanged glances. It wasn't fear they were feeling, not yet, but something close to it: discomfort, doubt. Meanwhile, on Earth, beneath a secure bunker in New Alaska, a hidden council of humanity's best strategists convened. The location had been scrubbed from every satellite map, shielded behind jamming fields and layered in deception. Captain Leela Graves stepped inside the chamber, where a round table of scientists, defense commanders, and rogue tech geniuses sat in silence. "Let's skip the pleasantries," she said, dropping a data pad on the table. "The Council's coming, and when they get here, they'll expect a clean sweep." "We're not built for a galactic war," said General Vasquez, arms crossed. "Not yet." "No," Graves agreed, "but we are built for war, period." Dr. Elias Kaur leaned forward. "They assume our strength is in our weapons, but they don't understand our creativity. They don't understand guerrilla tactics, decentralized networks, the power of unpredictability. They see a planet, not a people who've been surviving extinction-level threats for thousands of years." Graves nodded. "Then let's show them what that looks like." Across Earth, under her orders, humanity began preparing for a kind of war the aliens weren't expecting. A war where brute force lost to brilliance. Back in orbit above Zerelia, the capital world of the Council, a new debate raged behind closed doors. "We must not let defiance spread," said Varn Kuhl. "Earth's resistance is a political virus." "Then send the Executor," came a voice from the dark side of the chamber. Silence followed. Even Threx hesitated. "You would deploy him?" he asked, barely above a whisper. "The last time we used the Executor, 3 systems burned." "That is precisely why it will work," Varn Kuhl replied. "Let Earth see the futility of resistance." The council chamber dimmed as the vote was cast. Holograms flared green, majority approval. The Executor would be dispatched. The council had decided Earth would be cleansed, not conquered. On Earth, Deep in a facility carved into the side of a mountain, Graves stood beside a massive glass window, watching as experimental orbital platforms were raised into the sky. Weaponized satellites, electromagnetic pulse arrays, prototypes never meant for real use. Until now. Dr. Kaur stepped beside her, arms folded. "You know they'll send something worse than a fleet," he said quietly. "I'm counting on it," Graves replied. Her eyes locked on the stars. "We'll make this planet a graveyard before we surrender." In the silence of deep space, a black, angular vessel drifted through the void, its surface smooth and cold as if it absorbed light. No markings, no insignia. Only death. Inside, a single figure sat in silence, receiving the Council's order. Designation: Executor. Target: Earth. Mission: The sky split open. A ripple of distorted clouds bent unnaturally over the Pacific as the first alien vessel entered Earth's atmosphere. An obsidian leviathan, silent and cold, gliding like a blade through the stratosphere. It wasn't firing, not yet. It didn't need to. Every radar on the planet lit up at once. Inside Earth Defense Command, Captain Lila Graves stood over the tactical map as red markers multiplied in real time. "That's not a scouting vessel," Dr. Kaur said. "That's a forward command ship. They're not testing us, they're moving in." Graves narrowed her eyes. "Then we make them bleed." The world had changed overnight. Cities went dark, airspace shut down, military bases transformed into launch silos. Civilian life paused as Earth focused all resources on a singular goal: survival. The Council expected a conventional response, fleets rising to meet fleets, warships launched in formation. They got something else entirely. Instead of standing and fighting, Earth's militaries vanished. Every major city appeared defenseless. The first wave of alien dropships descended. That's when the traps sprang. At 3:12 GMT, as the dropships hovered over London, hundreds of hidden missile silos lit the sky. Heat-seeking warheads lanced upward from beneath old subway tunnels and sewer lines. The invaders tried to deploy shields, but the missiles weren't just explosives. They were designed to learn. Cluster AI warheads adjusted mid-flight, shifting their paths in response to the alien shields in real time. The first salvo slammed into the alien hulls, rupturing their armor with surgical precision. One ship fell, then another. In under 7 minutes, London became the graveyard of the first wave. Across the planet, similar events unfolded. In Tokyo, electromagnetic bursts disabled the enemy's atmospheric stabilizers, sending sleek alien vessels crashing into the sea. In Brazil, high-altitude railgun systems, disguised as communications towers, fired tungsten rods into descending craft. Humanity's defense wasn't about brute force, it was about deception, redirection, making the enemy fight ghosts while bleeding them dry. Back in orbit, aboard the Executor's vessel, a figure cloaked in obsidian armor stood still, watching the chaos unfold. The Executor had no name, no species, no need for identity. He had silenced more than a dozen civilizations. Worlds trembled at the sight of his ship, and yet he tilted his head slightly as he watched Earth's defense unfold. Not centralized but coordinated, not reactive but calculated, chaotic but effective. This intrigued him. He activated a direct link to the Council. "Phase 1 complete," he said in a voice like cracking stone. "They are not primitives." Down on Earth, in a reinforced bunker near Norway, Captain Graves reviewed battle data. She didn't smile at the enemy losses. There were still too many unknowns. "They're probing us," she said. "They want to see how far we're willing to go." "Doctor," Kaur leaned in, "we've taken out nearly a third of their landing craft. They didn't expect this." Graves nodded. "Good, but the real fight hasn't started." Above Earth, the Executor issued his command, "Send in the silence protocol." Moments later, hundreds of small black orbs deployed from orbit. Each one was a self-replicating disruption drone. They blanketed entire regions with invisible suppression fields. cutting off Earth's military communications, frying electronics, disabling drones, satellites, even civilian tech. Across the planet, screens went dark, cities lost power, planes dropped from the sky. Humanity's web of coordination collapsed. Or so they thought. Hidden beneath a mountain in the Rockies, Earth's emergency AI command core activated. Preloaded with countermeasures, it instantly rerouted command lines through quantum pulse relays buried beneath oceans and mountains. Graves grinned. "They just shut off our lights," she said, "but we've been fighting in the dark for centuries." Humanity's resistance cells, activated across the globe. In every continent, coordinated strike teams used local knowledge, primitive tools, and makeshift weapons to take down alien patrols. In New Delhi, a rogue hacker named Veer overloaded alien walkers by hijacking their field systems with nothing more than a modified 3D printer and a satellite phone. In the Australian outback, a group of Aboriginal rangers led invaders into ancient cave systems laced with explosives. Across the world, humanity adapted. Inside the Executor's ship, a second report appeared. Invasion force under 61% operational capacity. Surface resistance, non-standard, spreading. Recommendation, escalate to full planetary purge. The Executor stared at the screen. Then, for the first time in his long, brutal existence, he hesitated. "They're not a threat," he said aloud. "They're a problem." As night fell across the planet, a new ship entered Earth's orbit. Larger than any before, silent, deathly. The Council's Judicator-class vessel, a weapon meant to cleanse entire worlds, was on its way. Back on Earth, Captain Graves watched the stars. "They're sending everything now," she said. Dr. Kaur nodded grimly, "and they still don't understand us." My listeners, before we dive into the next chapter, if you're enjoying this epic story of human resilience, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these HFY Sci-Fi audiobooks coming, and we've got a lot more action-packed adventures ahead. So, drop a comment if you think humanity can survive this battle. The Judicator-class warship loomed in orbit like a god's axe, miles wide, shadowing entire continents as it slid into Earth's upper atmosphere. Designed for planetary annihilation, it had never failed to carry out a purge order. Inside the Earth Defense Command, the room fell silent as the vessel's silhouette appeared on screen. Captain Lila Graves leaned in, jaw clenched. "That's it," she whispered. "They're done playing. No energy blasts, no countdowns. Just a single data packet intercepted by Earth's satellites. Galactic Council authorization confirmed. Planetary purge initiated. Target, Earth. Method, aceric crack bomb. Impact, galacloid." Dr. Kaur turned pale. "That bomb will ignite the stratosphere. Not a weapon, an extinction event." Graves didn't blink. "Then we stop it before it drops." In a hardened hangar far beneath the Rocky Mountains, Earth's last hope came online. The Hammer Protocol. A deep space railgun system, years in secret development, never tested. A single tungsten round, accelerated to near light speed, capable of punching through capital-class warships. "We've only got one shot," said the system tech, "and it's not calibrated for a moving target of that mass." Graves stepped forward. "Then, don't miss." Above, the Judicator began unfolding. Gigantic panels emerged like black wings, revealing the Purge Core, an energy spike that glowed violet against the darkness. It charged slowly, drawing from the sun's radiation and Earth's magnetic field. The countdown had begun. But Earth wasn't finished yet. In the shadow of the Judicator, 4 stealth drones launched from low orbit. Their mission: get close enough to jam the ship's surface sensors, buying the Hammer Protocol precious seconds to lock its trajectory. The first 2 were vaporized instantly by proximity mines. The third was sliced in half by rotating defense arrays. Only one made it. But that was enough. In the Hammer control room, countdowns collided. Impact window in 14 seconds. Judicator charge at 92%. Target lock confirmed. Firing rail round. A thunderous blast echoed through the mountains as the tungsten round launched from Earth's crust, streaking across the sky in a flash of blue fire. Aboard the Judicator, alarms flared. The Executor turned toward the incoming threat, but he was too late. The round hit. The Judicator shuddered, its core cracking down the middle. Fire bled into space. It didn't explode, but it stopped charging. A cheer erupted in the Earth Defense Center. Graves didn't join them. Her eyes were still locked on the monitor. "It's not over," she muttered. Up in orbit, the Executor stood amid flames and ruined command consoles. The purge weapon was disabled, but the war was not. He turned toward a surviving comm unit. "Deploy ground units," he growled. All of them. An hour later, alien dropships rained from the sky across every continent. Entire legions of bioengineered shock troops stormed cities. Fast, brutal, efficient, designed for domination. But Earth had planned for this too. Civilian defense networks activated. Militia leaders emerged. Cities became trap-laden fortresses. Ancient mountain ranges were suddenly bristling with surface-to-air batteries disguised as weather stations. Humanity didn't fight to win. They fought to bleed the enemy dry. In Johannesburg, a cybernetic swarm was funneled into a steel canyon where they were crushed by collapsing skyscrapers. In Toronto, underground rail tunnels were used as kill zones, lined with thermal mines and drone snipers. In Siberia, ancient radio towers disguised as relics detonated electromagnetic pulses that fried every enemy's circuit within a 10-kilometer radius. For every human lost, 5 aliens fell. In the chaos, a coded signal came through on a secure Earth channel. Origin unknown. It was in Galactic High script. Dr. Cord decoded it, frowning. "It's a message from inside the Council." Graves raised a brow. "From who?" "I don't know, no name, just a phrase. Ceasefire is possible. Conditional. Meet at lunar coordinates. Come alone." Graves turned to the rest of her command staff. "It's bait," Vasquez said flatly. "Or a trap." "Maybe," Graves replied. "But maybe it's also the only way to stop this war." Hours later, aboard a sleek human shuttle disguised by stealth tech, Graves landed on the dark side of the moon. There, inside a hollow crater, she met Counselor Threx. "Alone?" "You came," he said. "I didn't come to surrender." He nodded. "Good. I didn't come to demand it." Graves narrowed her eyes. "Then why are you here?" Threx sighed, looking skyward. "Because we were wrong. Not just about your species, but about what strength really looks like." Behind them, Earth burned, but it had not fallen. The Executor had survived, and he was no longer waiting for orders. He had gone silent, which meant only one thing. He was planning something worse. The moon was silent. Captain Lila Graves stood face to face with Counselor Threx, alone on the shadowed side of the crater. Above them, Earth shimmered like a fragile jewel, scarred but still standing. Beneath its clouds, the Executor's ground assault raged on. Threx stepped forward, lowering the hood of his cloak. "You've cost the Council more lives in 3 days than any system in 50 years. Graves didn't flinch. "Maybe you should stop attacking systems that fight back." Threx' mouth curled, almost a smile. "Almost." "That's precisely why I'm here." She studied him. "You said ceasefire is possible. What's the price?" Threx' gaze dropped. "The Executor has gone. Off-screen. He no longer answers to the Council. He sees Earth as a contagion, a species that can't be allowed to inspire rebellion." "Then recall him," Graves said sharply. "I can't." Threx looked up at her, something human in his eyes. "Regret. We didn't send him. He volunteered." Graves folded her arms. "So, your empire is crumbling and you want Earth to help clean up the mess?" "No," Threx said softly. "I want Earth to survive it." Back on Earth, the Executor stood amid the ruins of Johannesburg, cloaked in fire and ash. The alien commander's armor flickered with scorched plasma, one eye dimmed but unblinking. His war was no longer one of conquest. It was personal. He activated a planetary override signal. All across Earth, sleeping terraformer nodes, small, unnoticed probes dropped in the first days of the invasion, activated. Buried beneath cities, forests, oceans, each one a core of molecular conversion. Their purpose was simple: convert Earth into something else, a synthetic biome, a planet with no humans, no resistance, just silence. In orbit, the final remnants of Earth's defense fleet scrambled to respond, but communications had gone dark again. Back at HQ, Dr. Core burst into the command center. He's activating a planet-wide override. It's not an invasion anymore, it's extermination. In 48 hours, the planet will no longer support human life. General Vasquez cursed under his breath. Graves returned to her command chair. Then we take the fight to him. Meanwhile, on the lunar shuttle, Graves and Threx sat across from one another as they descended back toward Earth. Graves turned to him. "If this is a trap, you're not the one in danger," Threx said grimly. "If the Executor succeeds, the Council's control fractures. Other worlds will revolt. You're not just defending your species, you're about to start a war bigger than you can imagine." "Good," Graves muttered. Threx looked at her. "And what happens when you win? Will you become what we were?" Graves didn't answer. Their shuttle broke through the atmosphere, diving into the chaos of Earth's airspace. Fires burned across continents. The sky was a tangle of smoke and starships. Atop the tallest structure still standing in what had been Paris, the Executor stood waiting. He had sensed her coming. He always did. Graves exited the shuttle in full combat armor. Her boots hit the scorched stone. Thunder rumbled above. Lightning split the sky. The Executor turned slowly. "You've come to die, Captain." "I've come to end this." The two warriors circled each other atop the tower. No armies, no fleets, just two leaders embodying everything their species stood for. "You're not like the others," he said. "You adapt, you fight, you refuse to kneel. And you fear that," she said. "No," he replied. "I admire it. That's why I'll destroy you myself." He lunged. Graves dodged, barely. His strike cracked the stone beneath her feet. The two clashed in a brutal melee, alien strength via human precision. Plasma met steel, energy shields flared. Every hit from the Executor was a death sentence. Every dodge by Graves was defiance incarnate. But she wasn't fighting to win. She was fighting to distract. Above them, Threx's ship hovered in low orbit, carrying a weapon Earth and the Council had secretly built together, a gravitational disruptor bomb, tuned to the Executor's armor and implant frequencies. It couldn't be fired from space. It had to be delivered from within the atmosphere, while the Executor stood still. As Graves took another hit and staggered to one knee, she smiled through blood. "Now," she whispered. From the clouds, the bomb dropped, silent, unseen. It struck. The Executor turned, too late. The bomb exploded in a pulse of gravimetric force that bent the skyline. The Executor screamed. His armor imploded inward. He collapsed into the tower, limbs twitching as the gravitational force crushed his core systems. Then, silence. Graves stood slowly, her armor cracked, one eye bruised, nearly shut. She looked up at Threx's ship and gave a single nod. Later, in the quiet dawn that followed, Threx stood before the Galactic Council once more. "They refused to kneel," he said. Another counselor asked, "Then what do we do with Earth now?" Threx stared into the void of the chamber and answered, "We invite them to the table, or we prepare for war." The war was over, not in the way wars usually ended. No treaties signed, no armies retreating under flags. It ended in silence. On Earth, fires still burned, skies were still clouded with ash and ionized smoke trails. Cities had turned to stone and ruin. But the Executor was dead, and the terraformers offline. The invasion had failed. And humanity still stood. Captain Lila Graves emerged from a medical bay 2 days after the battle atop the Paris Tower. Her wounds were deep but survivable, unlike the man-made god she had helped destroy. Earth's global net slowly came back online. From Alaska to Kenya, radio pulses lit up. Messages from survivors, militias, resistance cells, and outposts that had gone dark. The unkillable species had done it again. They had endured. Far above on Zerelia, the Galactic Council chamber no longer shimmered with confidence. The once proud gathering of galactic dominators now watched a new feed on the central display. Earth, rotating slowly in orbit, surrounded by a makeshift fleet of human ships. Threx stood before the council, hands behind his back. "They have not asked for terms," he said. "They haven't asked for peace or reparations." Zellery of the Kravari Syndicate leaned forward, agitated. "Then what do they want?" Threx turned, his voice even. "They haven't decided. They don't know if you're worth talking to yet." The chamber fell into stunned silence. In Geneva, the surviving members of Earth's new leadership gathered. A coalition of generals, scientists, civilian leaders, and a few old enemies now united by shared blood. Graves sat at the table, bandaged but unbroken. Beside her stood Dr. Elias Kor, and across the room a digital display showed an incoming communication request. Galactic Council diplomatic link. Request for dialogue. "What do we do?" asked General Vasquez. Graves didn't respond at first. She was staring out the window, where the rising sun broke through the smoke and clouds, casting gold across the ruins. "Everyone thought this was a war for survival," she said quietly, "but it was a test, a galactic vetting process. Who gets to stand? Who gets a voice?" Kor nodded. "We passed, and now they're afraid of what we might say." "Then let's make it count," Graves replied. "Patch them through." The council's holographic emissary appeared, a projection of Threx, his image slightly distorted by Earth's modified comm systems. "Captain Graves," he said, "the council has reevaluated Earth's position." "I'm sure," she said dryly. "You are now considered a potential galactic participant, a civilization of influence. You may be granted a seat, under supervision." Graves raised an eyebrow. "Supervision?" "A transition period," Threx said carefully, "to ensure integration goes smoothly. After all, your species is unpredictable." She leaned in toward the hologram. "That's the point." Back on Zerelia, other counselors watched, whispering nervously. "She dares speak like that to us? She nearly brought down our Executor." "She didn't nearly do anything," Threx corrected. "She did." The meeting concluded without war, without surrender. Just a final statement from Graves before she cut the signal. "We are not your experiment. We are not your pawns. You don't invite Earth to the table. You earn our attention. We survived your worst. If you try again, make sure you do better." In the days that followed, Earth began to rebuild. Alien tech was salvaged and repurposed. Terraformers turned into energy fields. Crashed ships became research centers. Humanity wasn't just healing, it was evolving. The rest of the galaxy watched, some with curiosity, some with fear, others with plans. In a dark corner of space, on a ship without insignia, a group of exiled species, the ones who had once been crushed beneath the Council's rule, watched footage of Earth's resistance with growing admiration. "They did what we couldn't," said one, claws drumming on a rusted control panel. Another nodded. "They didn't just fight, they made the galaxy pay attention. And now they've opened a door," a new message was sent. "Not from the Council, not from Earth. To humanity of Sol, we are not your enemies, but we are watching. Should you choose to rise, you won't rise alone." Back on Earth, under the stars that once held only mystery and threat, Captain Graves stood alone on a hill overlooking the rebuilding capital. Dr. Kor joined her, handing her a cup of coffee, black and bitter. "Are we safe now?" he asked. Graves stared upward. "No," she said, "but we're seen, and that's more dangerous." Kor nodded. "What now?" Grace smiled faintly. "Now, we build ships, big ones." She sipped her coffee. "Let them come again. Let anyone come." She turned toward the stars. "This time we'll be ready. Transmission intercepted. Origin unknown. Encryption unbreakable. Message, they are not alone." Earth was the beginning.